Hello, my name is Kathy Rager. I'm the Downers Grove Township Senior Services Coordinator and the host for our program, The Vintage Times. Today we're talking about a very exciting and extremely important topic, transportation. We all use transportation in one way or another. We have our buses, our trains, our CTA, the PACE, we have cab service, we have a car, we lease a car, we rent a car. And we don't think about it too much as we're, as we, in our 30s, 40s, 50s, but we start thinking about it a little bit more carefully when we're seniors and older adults, because perhaps at that point we might not be driving anymore and we might need other options for transportation. And one of the things I wanted to bring to the public today is just to share a little information about some of the options that are out there. Our township provides a couple of different services for our senior citizens. And when I say seniors, I'm talking about 65 and older, although 55 and older is actually probably more included in that group as well. But there is something that you can get when you're 65 years old. It's a reduced fare card for the RTA. It gives you half price on the Metro trains, on the CTA downtown, and on the local PACE buses. You just have to be 65 or older. You can come into the township. There are other locations as well, but if you come into our township office, we can take a picture of you, and then we send that, you fill out the form, we send it into the RTA, and they mail you your reduced fare card. It's that simple. We also have a ride-free card, and that is qualified by, it's through our Benefit Access Program. Actually, it's through the state and the Illinois Department of Aging. The the ride-free card is offered for low income. So if you qualify by your income, you can also get the card for the train and for the bus services, but it would be free for you. It also offers a license plate discount as well. Another thing that we do within the township is our Dial-A-Ride. This is strictly a township service for township residents. It travels only within our township boundaries. And our boundaries are 39th Street on the north. On the south, it's the Des Plaines River. On the west, it's Woodward Avenue. And on the east, it's County Line Road. So it covers all or most of 7 towns. Again, we have a brochure. You can call or come into the office to sign up for this. The Dial-A-Ride program is available to our seniors who are 65 years old or older, or to disabled people who have an ADA card. There's an application for an ADA card. We have it available at the township office. You fill it out on your own, get the required things that you need for that, usually a doctor's note, and they do an interview, and then you send it in to the RTA yourself. We can register you for the Dial-A-Ride program if you're under 65 and you have an ADA card. But if you want to just call in, you can call in anytime. At the credits at the end of the program, you'll see some of our information. You can either call in for Dial-A-Ride or come in person for Dial-A-Ride. You do not need a picture. You do not need anything special unless you're under 65. So it runs Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. It runs on the holidays, 5 of them. The fare is $3 each way during the week and $5 each way on the holidays. It's cash only. We always tell our seniors to just have singles available because they don't make change on the bus. These are small PACE buses. It's a shared ride, curb-to-curb service. And so it does not come up to your door, but it does come out in front, and they have a lift. So if you have a wheelchair, cane, or a walker, you are able to get onto the bus. Obviously, there's a lot of our seniors that don't have that problem, and they can climb onto the bus themselves. But we do have the ability to have you lifted onto the bus if you've had a recent surgery, if you're operating with some sort of disability. We can accommodate for that. So you sign up for that through the township. Once you're in the system, you just call for your rides. It's 1 week ahead for anything medical, because that's a priority, and 2 days ahead for anything else. And that can be a hair appointment. It can be going to the grocery store. It can be going to see a friend. It doesn't matter, as long as your destination is also within the township boundaries. So again, you must be a township resident, 65 or older. You can travel anywhere within the township boundaries. It's a great option. Because it's a shared ride service, though, and curb to curb, they want to make sure that they can plan their schedules ahead. So that's the reason for calling earlier. So the only other option that is available in the area also is the Village of Downers Grove has subsidized taxi coupons. You can call the Village to find out about this. They have four different cab companies that they work with that accept those coupons. That is the only village within our township right now that is doing subsidized taxi coupons. The village of Downers Grove does this on their own. They have continued to subsidize these coupons even though the money that was supporting the program in other towns from the state has gone away. So you can check with the village. If you're a Downers Grove resident, you can use this as well. So I pretty much outlined some of the options that we have in the village and get you thinking a little bit. But I also have a very special guest today who has a very different option for transportation that she's a part of. It's a not-for-profit, and I would like to introduce Janet Garreau, who is the Executive Director of Interfaith Community Partners. So welcome to our program, Janet. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Well, I would like to, I'm really excited about this because we've been talking, and I just wanted to hear, have our audience hear a little bit more about your background and why you came to this not-for-profit.
Sure, thank you. The path to my current position started when I worked in the volunteer department at LaGrange Hospital during my first career, and that's where I fell in love with working with older adults. And the position I left there was Director of Senior Friends because at the time I had 4 small children. So I took some time off to raise my family. 11 years ago, I went back to work at Loyola Medical School in Maywood, and I was the office manager in the ministry department, and that's where I completed my bachelor's degree. So I have a BA in management with an area of concentration in social services and nonprofit management from Loyola University. Wow. So when this job presented itself, it was a natural fit and something that I enjoy doing.
Well, I know that I was so glad that I came to know a little bit about you. I found out through one of our other partners that there was a transportation program available. So what is this transportation all about? What is your current area that you serve?
Sure. Well, Interfaith Community Partners started in 2000 by 7 churches in the LaGrange and Western Springs area as a visitation program, and the need quickly arose for transportation. So that's how Interfaith was born. We currently serve Lyons Township, South Proviso, into Riverside Township. And we're looking at expanding more into DuPage County, into the area out in Downers Grove, Darien, and those areas.
Now, why did you feel that there was a need to move, further west?
Well, we did some research and looked at what the options were, and while the ones you mentioned are great opportunities, the personal touch that we provide is a big need, and we do get phone calls from folks in these communities, but we don't have enough volunteers out here. There's a wonderful service in Naperville called RAN, Ride Assist Naperville.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And they're pretty new, and so we work similar to them. In fact, we're in a coalition with them and other organizations in Northern Illinois.
Really? So, and I know I was explaining a little bit earlier about our Dial-A-Ride service, which is a great option,
Yes.
but it is curb to curb. So, because the drivers cannot take the liability for coming to the door for someone at the door. However, they, try to ease the means to get someone into the bus. But you're offering something very different. And so, I'm thinking, even though we have transportation options, we definitely need a lot more because we get calls at the township every day for transportation, and it's not necessarily something we can accommodate, especially if it's outside of our township. So, what are some of the guidelines for your program? How does that run? How do you?
Sure. So a client would call our office and request an intake form. So we need basic information, their name, address, phone, emergency contact, and any medical information that would be helpful for us to know. And then we need 5 days or a week's notice to secure them a driver.
Okay, so you need some upfront time, like a little time frame too, because again, you're planning this out.
Right.
So where a taxi, if someone wanted to call a taxi, you could call, arrange that ride that day. But then, of course, taxis are great, but then they can be very expensive.
Right. And so we don't charge our clients for the rides. We ask them to donate if they're able, or we have other business partners that support us. We're privately funded, so we have folks who support us financially. But we give rides to people regardless of their ability to donate.
So when you say you have the staff, now do you have paid staff? Do you have volunteers? How does this program operate?
So I'm full-time as the executive director, and I've been with the organization coming up on 3 years. We have 3 part-time staff in the office, 2 coordinators, and they match the volunteers with the clients, and 1 office assistant. And she does things like manages our donor database, assists with events, and things like that.
So how many volunteers do you have?
So we have about 125 volunteers total.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that includes drivers. It includes a small youth program, so we have teens that do some work for us. And we have a flower pedal pusher program and library homebound delivery, which I'll share.
Okay, that's, well, you can go ahead and tell us a little bit about that right now.
Sure. So the majority of what we do is provide rides. 90% of our services are rides to people 60 and better to get them to places like their medical appointments and life-enhancing errands like the grocery store, hairdresser, bank, and we drive folks to church on Sunday.
So you operate Monday through Friday, but you do include things on the weekends. Is that just in certain cases? I mean, is there any, I guess, what are the guidelines surrounding the days of the week and the times of the day?
So we opened up Saturday rides because we had volunteers who worked full-time and still wanted to give back to their community. And so we're able to take people on Saturday. So we have a small group of people who we drive, church service on Saturday night. We have a dialysis patient who needs to get there on Saturday and things like that. Otherwise, we're Monday through Friday, mostly daylight hours, so 8 a.m. till about 4 p.m. If an appointment goes longer than that, our volunteer stays with them.
And is there a problem sometimes with scheduling, or is there ever a time where you're not able to provide a ride when someone calls?
It's very rare that we can't give a ride. We do prioritize medical appointments and then grocery shopping. So if we can't get someone to another type of store or to their hair appointment, we help them reschedule that to a time when we can accommodate them.
So currently, the area that you serve, the clients that use this must live within that area, and then the volunteers are also from that area?
The volunteers can really live anywhere, but the clients that we serve need to live in those communities, and we pretty much serve those communities, but because we're a nonprofit, we can reach outside. So for instance, we don't currently serve the Maywood area, but we'll take people to Loyola and Hines.
Oh, okay. And you know, and actually ours is similar in the fact that even though Good Samaritan Hospital is outside of our boundary, we go there, and we go to Loyola, which is outside of our boundary.
Exactly.
So if it makes sense, you know, or it's in the, you kind of, do you do this on a case-to-case basis?
Yes.
With that? Yeah, ours
Yes.
is hard. You know, it's, we will go to Good Sam, we will go to Loyola. Those are the only two because it's in a contract where it sounds like you're more able to, you know, have special circumstances once in a while?
So if we know we have drivers willing, and if it's a one-time ride or it might be a few appointments, we can accommodate, for instance, Good Sam. But if they need to go 3 times a week for physical therapy, that would be a little difficult for our volunteers.
Okay. And do the volunteers arrange their own rides? Do they sign into a system somehow? Or how does that work out?
So they can do either. They can either, once they're trained, so we provide criminal and driving background checks on all of our volunteers.
I was going to say, you probably have to vet them very carefully.
Yes, and then they get trained by a staff member, so we have eyes on them before they have a client of ours in their car.
So criminal and background checks, and then what about, you know, you said when you train them, what does training involve?
Sure, well, we'll go over the guidelines and procedures, so they have the ability to log into our software and see a schedule for the next week and assign themselves. And that's what a lot of our volunteers like, is the flexibility. So they can work next Monday and take a 9 a.m. ride, and the next week a Wednesday afternoon, and then if they're traveling for 2 weeks, they don't have to worry about getting someone to take their volunteer position. So they can assign themselves when they're available, and it's flexible.
So as the rides come in, they're posted then, and then the volunteers are always looking on the site to see what they could sign up for.
Right. And our coordinators are also making phone calls. Some of our volunteers prefer to have a phone call and they don't want to log in. Some use a combination of the two. So we'll call people who are available on a certain day to take those rides, and that's an efficient way for us to fill them.
Well, it's an interesting, I think we have to think a lot about communication these days. Whether you're communicating with, maybe a little bit more tech-savvy baby boomers and maybe some that are a little bit older adults that either don't have a computer, might not want to feel comfortable on a computer. And I imagine that not only your clients, but maybe some of your drivers are in that category. What would be the average age of your drivers?
The average age of our driver is 65. A lot of the drivers that we get are newly retired, looking to give back in their community, or have a strong connection to older adults.
Wow. And then what would you say is the average age of your client?
The average age of our client is 78 years old, so we take people 60 and better, and we have a lot of folks in that whole age range. Some who are not as mobile in their 60s, all the way up to clients who are, I think our oldest client is 99.
Wow.
Yeah, still lives on her own.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you must be, a blessing for that.
Yeah.
And I know more, as time goes on, and transportation seems to be a real issue out there. I know there's other organizations that do what you do, but not too many, because we get phone calls all the time for transportation that we can offer just so much, and then there are gaps.
Right.
And so, would you say that your clients would say this is filling a gap for them?
We'd like to think that we're filling that gap. The township services and buses and other forms of transportation are wonderful and work for a lot of people. But for someone so our volunteers walk with our clients. They sit with them in the waiting room. The townships can't always provide that service.
No. They drop off and they have to
Right.
come back later.
Right, so we
Yes.
always get out of the car. We give them an arm to get them in. Our clients need to be ambulatory, so anybody who is wheelchair bound, we have a service that we refer, so we don't leave people stuck without a ride. We provide resources, but they have to be able to get in and out of the car on their own with minimal help. And our volunteers will fold up their walker, put it in the back seat, or take their cane from them, but we walk them in and we sit with them during their appointments.
So they can have some issues with walking, but they really need to
Right.
be able to get in and out.
Right.
Okay, so, excuse me, you were saying something about charging for the ride. You don't charge.
Right, so we don't charge per ride, and we ask folks to donate if they're able.
Okay. And then, do you worry about falls, or do you ever have an issue with someone that, they're taking one of your clients on a ride, and is there ever a problem that occurs where they might have an issue getting in and out of the car, or, 'cause I don't know if that ever happens.
Yeah, well, it's rare, but it, of course, can happen where someone could slip and fall or become ill while they're on a transport. And we do train our volunteers what to do. They're instructed to call an ambulance if someone falls and can't get up on their own, because we don't train our volunteers how to lift somebody, and we wouldn't want them to further hurt our client or hurt themselves.
Well, that makes sense,
Yeah.
because, I know that. So do you absorb the liability for this? How does this work?
Right, so the volunteers are the first point of insurance. So for instance, if I were driving and I had an accident that I hit somebody, the insurance would be covered under my insurance. If somebody hit me, it would be their insurance. And then ICP has an umbrella policy, and we provide insurance over and above what a private or what our volunteer insurance would cover for things like bodily harm.
Oh. What are your plans for moving into the area here?
So we're reaching out to, we currently serve, on the east we go as far as Harlem Avenue and Riverside. On the north we serve South Proviso Township, so Westchester, North Riverside, and we're looking into Broadview. On the south we'll do rides in Countryside and Burr Ridge. And we're a little shady between here and Naperville, like I mentioned. So we serve Hinsdale and Burr Ridge, but we're leaning into those areas a little bit more. And so we're reaching out to villages, libraries, churches. Those seem to be places that folks would turn to, or they have a good pulse on the community of helping us get volunteers as well as clients.
Has that been the most successful area for you to find your clients and,
Yeah, absolutely. So church bulletins are a big draw for us, and then working with the villages. So in one of the villages that we serve, they do a weekly e-blast to residents, and we've gotten 6 or 7 volunteers that way. But word of mouth, bulletins, Facebook even is a good way for us to
So
recruit
you're
our
using
volunteers.
social media, snail mail, flyers,
We
wherever
do,
you
we
can get
do.
your information out
Sure.
there. How soon do you think you would be, right now, they couldn't get a ride in our area here.
Right. So our plan is to move into the areas of Clarendon Hills, Darien, Downers Grove, Westmont, and Willowbrook. And as soon as we can secure 10 volunteers in each of those villages, we'll be able to serve clients in those areas. So a big plea right now is for recruiting volunteers who want to drive for us.
Great. And what would you say is the age of your youngest volunteer right now?
We just had a young woman, she works full-time, she's 26 years old, and feels a pull to work with older adults and also wants to give back. And she takes one of our ladies to church on Saturday. And they've formed a nice friendship. It's really great to see.
Excuse me, sorry. What about, are there any other programs connected with your service other than the ones we talked about earlier?
Yeah, so the majority of what we do are provide rides to folks. But some of the other small programs are, one is called our Pedal Pusher, P-E-T-A-L. So we work with another nonprofit on the North Shore called Bloom and Toss, and they partner with local grocery chains to get the flowers that would be expired and they would ordinarily throw out. So we pick up those flowers every week and bring them to our office twice a month.
Oh.
We bring in garden clubs, and they repurpose them into small vases that an older adult can handle, like the size of a mason jar. And then we use youth or teens in the community to deliver those, sometimes during their birthday month. And then another time of the month, we'll take them to our business partners.
I was going to ask you, you said you had teen volunteers. So are all your teen volunteers involved in that particular, area?
Yeah, that, and we have a homebound library delivery service with 5 of the libraries in the towns that we serve. So every other Saturday, they're picking up and delivering library material. So it wouldn't be safe for a teen to drive an older adult with liability and them being under 18. So we have a requirement of 23 and over for our driving volunteers.
Oh, that makes sense.
But to have an intergenerational organization and teens want to work with older adults, we'll let them do things like deliver things to them. We would never put a teen in an older adult's home alone because that wouldn't be as safe, but it would be appropriate for them to deliver things and such.
It makes a lot of sense. I think that involving the youth in the community
Yeah.
in ways like this, and I'm sure a lot of them are probably getting hours for, excuse me, for National Honor Society and other
Right.
things that they have to,
Right.
acquire points for. I mean, not that
Right.
that would be their only goal, but I think it's always great to involve, be intergenerational. That
Right.
you can involve the kids with the older adults.
Yep.
And so I think that it sounds like you've got a great expansion going on with this program. And do you feel that, so if you get your 10 volunteers, you can start moving into the area
Right.
a little bit more. And what would be your projected amount of volunteers? The same where you have now, or?
Well, our volunteers fluctuate all the time, as you can imagine. People are on vacation, we have snowbirds, people take care of their grandchildren at different times of the year or travel themselves. So it's common for us to have a number of volunteers out at one point. That's why we always have a need for volunteers. So we need to start with 10 in each community, and then we'll always be recruiting in different ways to bring volunteers in so that we can meet the needs in each community.
And I understand that you're really going out there and trying to get your face out there, talk to different people, talk to some of the senior centers, some of the independent livings probably too.
Yeah.
Again, we get calls all the time. Would you like to add anything else?
Just for folks to know that we have clients who have lost their driver's license, are unable to drive, or have had it taken away, and it feels like a loss of independence for them. So if we can be their private driver, it's a great connection for folks who want to give back to their community, walking alongside one of our clients. We have a lady, Donna, who came to our community when her husband passed. She had lived out of state. She came here to live closer to her son, but her son and his wife work full-time. So we partner with that family. We'll take Donna to her medical appointments during the week, and they provide the grocery shopping on the weekends and see her in the evenings. And so it's a nice partnership. They support us financially, the son and his wife do, and we help their mom get around.
It's very symbiotic. I like that story. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And I bet you
Yeah.
there's a lot more of them out there.
Yeah.
People just looking for someone to help their loved one, to provide something that they can't necessarily always provide, and know that someone is there for them.
Yeah, and that's what our clients say. It's like having their child or partner with them when their family can't be there.
Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having you here today. Got a little bit of a cold, so I apologize for, for coughing, but I think this information is so important to get out there because transportation is a really hot topic right now. So this is a great option. I think that your information will show at the end of the program. If anyone wants to volunteer with you, they would just need to call you.
They can call our office
Or email
visit
you.
our website and submit an inquiry that way, and we'll get them an application.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
that would be ideal. The more transportation options we can get into our area here, I think the better.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks,
I
Kathy.
appreciate having you. Thank you.
Appreciate this.